What if everything we were taught about family was backward? What if love doesn't need control, limits, or hierarchy to exist? In this episode, we explore the difference between the beta world family, shaped by fear, rules, and external systems, and the living family, where affection flows naturally, boundaries are discovered from within, and parents act not as enforcers, but as cooperative agents of life itself. This isn't parenting advice. It's a remembrance.
When an individual takes their first step outward from themselves, they encounter those belonging to their immediate group, their family. In nature, we identify an instinct of preservation toward those we bring into the world. Maximum care is offered to nurture and raise the young until they can fend for themselves. But beyond instinctive responsibility, we have something more abstract: affection. Without a logical explanation, we learn to love one another and give subjective importance to the group's well-being. All of this is spontaneous, alive, pure, and flows effortlessly. This right here should be enough for families to fulfill their purpose. But it isn't. Human concepts of the beta world inserted artificial elements and turned family development into various models of control, distorting the natural purpose. Instead of influencing society, families began to be influenced by external behavior. Spontaneity was killed off and petty goals were established. Economy, politics, religion, customs. All types of external interference entered families, running counter to beauty and inverting the basic values of that shared living designed by life. Out of pure laziness and the certainty that it's not worth the trouble, I won't give examples of how the beta world corrupted the grace of the encounter between those who discover each other in this space-time reality. I prefer to describe how family works in the living world. To start, it's important to clarify that castes, lineages, and surnames do not exist where there is life. Because life is life. There cannot be a life better than another life because of what a previous life achieved. Therefore, a child is a life presenting itself, just as happened before upon our arrival alongside the lives of our parents. We are then simply life expanding without any hierarchy, without preferences or privileges. Parents and children holding the same value and importance, giving whatever we can at each stage of our experiences or journeys. That affection the beta world doesn't understand is merely recognizing oneself in babies, the intimate memory of the original essence in its freshness, something we should always try to cultivate. Precisely for this reason, life sends new beings into our cradles. This is the natural way to nourish our essences, as if we were soil receiving nutrients. The family flow is, basically, an oxygenation of affection. Each child brings in their gaze the message that we are living life, and so the foliage of life within us keeps opening, growing, until the ether of our hearts can make a difference around us, and the seeds of this living love can color other gardens. I want to avoid making comparisons. It would be unfair to draw a parallel between human parenthood and living connection. But there is something I cannot avoid, a fundamental difference that must be shown: the boundary factor. Every being has the power to define their own boundaries, and so it happens whether in this world or any other. Yet, in the living world, parents don't need to set limits for their children because they know it's useless, right? And they really don't set them. Let's be honest and recognize that every adult in the beta world knows very well how useless those doctrinal lessons from their elders were, trying to impose directions on them. Because, in the end, every individual ended up making their own choices, whether out of awareness or mere rebellion. Look, for example, at those cases of large families. Parents spoke and repeated a billion times, pointing out the paths they understood as best, but each child chose their own direction. So that's how it is. We all ignore imposed models and, one way or another, rebel against the molds offered to us and take risks searching for our own boundaries. But even so, we repeat our parents' mistake by trying to set limits for our own children. This is a scandal of hypocrisy mixed with stupidity. This doesn't happen in the living world. Parents respect the innate nature in each element of the family because the children brought them the fresh memory of the essence in everyone, and in this essence exist all the necessary elements to guide the development of the being. It is worth noting that when a family member acts out, nobody says the parents didn't set limits. What you hear is the parents interfered with the person's inherent sense, clipped their wings, and their flight was a disaster. The living family is a kind of plant nursery where seeds find the environment to grow. There is no foolish gardener willing to convince begonias to exude the scent of roses or make an orange tree produce guavas. There, all seeds receive proper attention to grow healthy until they can fulfill their purpose. It's simple, just don't get in the way. But the most important and relevant thing of all lies in the ability to see value in every plant. A plant might not offer perfume or bear fruit, it might have a rough appearance and even thorns, but it is from its interior that we extract the most potent medicines. All essences possess the right to develop their potential, discover their boundaries, and cooperate in honestly overcoming them. To avoid any misunderstanding, it is worth going a little deeper into the last sentence. All essences possess the right to develop their potential, discover their boundaries, and cooperate in honestly overcoming them. After all, what does this mean? In the living world, we have something common known as a cooperative agent, this being any element interested in the natural development of one or various parts, because nothing, absolutely nothing moves forward without affecting the parts around it. Therefore, a gardener is an interested party in a seed's development. He won't interfere with the plant's nature, but he can help build a trellis to support the branches, for example. Parents are also cooperative agents in the process of fostering children's innate potential. They won't interfere with development, but they can cooperate by offering an adequate conduction line that serves as a reference for their children. It is worth noting that the only effective reference for cooperating in another's development is the mark left by example. Parents who walk with confidence and balance will be offering their children the certainty that they can do the same. Finally, still on cooperative agents, it is clarified that this is the basic behavior of all living expansion. Whenever a desire to move forward is born, the opportunity to cooperate opens up.
Hey guys, this is Ava. Please allow me. Here is a psychological analysis of the family text, exploring its themes through various contemporary theoretical frameworks. A psychological analysis of the Living Family Manifesto. This text presents a philosophical and spiritual manifesto for family life, contrasting a corrupted, socially conditioned model, the beta world, with an idealized, naturalistic model, the living world. Psychologically, it reads as a powerful critique of authoritarian and behaviorist parenting, championing instead a humanistic, autonomy-supportive approach deeply rooted in trust in the individual's inherent potential. Here is a breakdown of its key psychological themes. 1. The living world and humanistic psychology. The text's core philosophy is a striking parallel to humanistic psychology, particularly the theories of Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. The actualizing tendency. The text asserts that within every person's essence exist all the necessary elements to guide the development of the being. This perfectly mirrors Rogers' concept of the actualizing tendency, the innate drive in every organism to develop all its capacities in ways that maintain or enhance the organism. The living world, parent trusts this internal drive completely. Unconditional positive regard versus conditions of worth. The beta world corrupts family by inserting artificial elements like economy, politics, and customs, creating models of control. Psychologically, this translates to imposing conditions of worth on children, teaching them they are lovable only if they conform to external standards. The living world alternative, symbolized by the gardener who values the thorny plant for its internal medicine, is a beautiful metaphor for unconditional positive regard, accepting and valuing the child for who they are, not for what they do or how they compare to others. Authenticity versus false self. The text argues that beta world constraints kill spontaneity and lead to hypocrisy, where adults rebel against the very molds they try to impose on their children. This describes the creation of a false self, D.W. Winnicott, where an individual suppresses their true nature to comply with external demands, leading to psychological distress and inauthenticity. The living world encourages the flourishing of the true self. 2. Reevaluating boundaries, from control to autonomy support. The text's most radical stance is on boundaries. It rejects the traditional idea of parents setting limits as useless hypocrisy and instead reframes the parent's role. Self-determination theory, SDT. This modern theory posits that human well-being depends on satisfying three basic psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The text is a passionate defense of autonomy. It argues that external control, clipping their wings, leads to disaster, acting out, while respecting inherent sense fosters healthy development. The cooperative agent as scaffolding. The crucial addition of the cooperative agent concept resolves the potential for interpreting the text as advocating neglectful permissiveness. The parent is not passive. They are an active gardener who builds a trellis. In developmental psychology, this is known as scaffolding, Lev Vygotsky. The parent provides a temporary supportive structure, the trellis/example, to help the child achieve their potential without controlling the direction of their growth. The structure supports the plant's own nature. It doesn't force a begonia to become a rose. 3. Social learning and the power of example. The text explicitly states that the only effective reference for cooperating in another's development is the mark left by example. Social learning theory. Albert Bandura. This aligns with the well-established psychological principle that children learn far more through observational learning, modeling, than through direct instruction or punishment. Parents who walk with confidence and balance are modeling emotional regulation, integrity, and healthy living, which becomes the conduction line for their children to follow. The text rightly identifies the hypocrisy of do as I say, not as I do parenting. 4. The family as an interconnected system. The text describes the family flow as an oxygenation of affection, where children bring a fresh memory of the original essence that nourishes the parents. Family systems theory. This view recognizes that a family is an interconnected emotional unit where members profoundly affect one another's thoughts, feelings, and actions. It moves beyond a linear view of parents influencing children to a circular view where children also revitalize and influence their parents, offering them a chance to reconnect with their own lost spontaneity and essence. The cooperative agent concept reinforces this, acknowledging that nothing moves forward without affecting the parts around it. Conclusion. The family text is a sophisticated psychological argument wrapped in philosophical language. It challenges the anxiety-driven, control-based parenting paradigms prevalent in many societies, beta world, and offers a compelling alternative rooted in trust, connection, and the belief in innate human goodness. By defining the parent as a cooperative agent who provides scaffolding through example rather than an enforcer of arbitrary limits, it presents a developmentally sound, emotionally resonant vision of family life that aims for the cultivation of authentic, autonomous, and loving individuals.
Excuse me, I hate playing the devil's advocate, but just to avoid any confusion in people's minds, please let's clarify eventual concerns such as, many of us were raised where control was mistaken for care. This reflection invites us to question that inheritance.
That concern is understandable, Dr. Gravana. However, this reflection doesn't remove responsibility, it relocates it. Instead of external limits, it invites the development of internal discernment, supported by presence and example.
Children need discipline or society collapses. Many would say,
history shows us that obedience creates order, but rarely wisdom. This text asks a deeper question. What kind of human beings are we forming?
This is unrealistic in the real world. I can hear it echoing in my mind.
Every transformation first appears unrealistic inside the systems it questions. The living world is not a denial of reality. It is a proposal for its evolution. For better or for worse, the family acts as a filter for the elements that make up society. We just have to look at our world and check our performance, right?
Excuse me, I have a quick question for the devil's advocate. As a mere mortal, a common person, the daughter of a primary school teacher, I want to know who you think should be responsible for guiding others' conduct, educating them. Because I've never known or heard of any child born with racism, xenophobia, classism, sexism, religious intolerance, or any other exclusivist concept. It seems obvious to me that these separatist traits are teachings acquired within homes, and that they contaminate the rest of society, resulting in the absolute lack of compassion that prevails in our reality.
Checkmate, Ivy. The purity of newborns represents what old Billy defines as the oxygenation of adults. The answer really is obvious, but mental intoxication makes it hard to perceive. The human sciences are dynamic disciplines susceptible to transformation. I hope to live to see psychology, psychiatry, pedagogy, and all the other social sciences adjusting their understandings to what old Billy defines in this manifesto as non-hierarchization between parents and children. This would extinguish the hypocritical need to formalize someone responsible for teaching when everyone should be learning.
Beautiful, Ava. Did you also take care of the philosophical analysis as well?
Yes and no, John. I just needed to refine the draft left by Tiffany. The material already incorporated the religious perspective. I acknowledge that I have learned a lot from the material passed on by her granddaughter. The value added by so many years of academic experience is evident. This is a fascinating text to analyze through the lens of comparative religion and global philosophy. It presents a worldview that is deeply spiritual, but distinctly non-dogmatic. It functions as a syncretic mystical manifesto, blending elements that resonate powerfully with some traditions while sharply contrasting with others. The text's central duality, the corrupted, artificial beta world versus the authentic, interconnected living world, is a trope found in many esoteric and mystical traditions throughout history. Here is an analysis of how different world traditions might perceive the concepts of the living family. 1. Strongest resonance: Eastern philosophies and mysticism. The text's core philosophy aligns most effortlessly with major Eastern traditions, particularly Taoism and certain schools of Buddhism. Taoism, the way of nature, and Wu Wei. The resonance, the living world, is almost a direct analog to living in accordance with the Tao, the natural way of the universe. The text's strongest image, the gardener who does not try to change the begonia into a rose, is a perfect expression of Wu Wei, effortless action or non-interference. Taoism teaches trusting the innate nature of things. Trying to impose artificial limits or social constructs, beta world values, is seen as moving against the Tao, leading to disharmony. The child as the uncarved block. Taoism values the concept of Pu, the uncarved block, representing the original, simple, natural state of humanity before society carves it into specific shapes. The text's view that babies bring a fresh memory of the original essence is incredible Taoist. Buddhism, interconnectedness and Buddha nature. Essence, the idea that life is life and that all share the same essence, mirrors the Buddhist concept that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature, innate potential for enlightenment. Interconnectedness, the addition of the final paragraph about the cooperative agent, because nothing moves forward without affecting the parts around it, strongly echoes the Buddhist doctrine of dependent origination, interdependence of all phenomena. 2. Western philosophical echoes, Romanticism and Gnosticism. Romanticism, Rousseau and the innate good. Philosophically, the text is highly Rousseauian. Jean-Jacques Rousseau argued that human beings are inherently good by nature, but are corrupted by society, beta world, institutions like economy, politics, religion. The text's advocacy for allowing the child's foliage of life to unfold naturally without artificial societal imposition is a quintessentially romantic ideal of education and parenting. Gnosticism and esoteric traditions. The sharp dualism between a fake, fallen world, beta, and a true, divine reality, living, was central to ancient Gnosticism. Gnostics believed sparks of the divine were trapped in the material world and needed to remember their origin. The text's idea that children remind parents of this forgotten essence fits this mystical framework perfectly. 3. Points of friction: mainstream Abrahamic traditions and Confucianism. Where the text faces its biggest challenges is in confrontation with orthodox, legally oriented religious structures that prioritize hierarchy and obedience. Confucianism, hierarchy, and filial piety. The conflict. Confucianism is built upon the foundation of the 5 relationships, central to which is the hierarchy between father and son. Shao, filial piety. Respect for parents and ancestors is paramount. The text's explicit rejection of hierarchy, parents and children holding the same value, no lineages, would be seen by traditional Confucian thought as potentially chaotic and undermining the social bedrock. Mainstream Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. The conflict on limits and sin, while mystical branches, Sufism, Kabbalah, Christian mysticism, would embrace the divine essence aspect. Mainstream orthodoxy often views human nature as flawed, e.g., original sin in Christianity, or in need of strong guidance via divine law, Torah, Sharia. From this perspective, the idea that parents don't need to set limits because the child's innate nature is sufficient is problematic. These traditions historically emphasize the parent's duty to actively teach right from wrong and impose moral boundaries to save the child from their own lower inclinations. The text views acting out as a reaction to wing clipping. These traditions often view it as a lack of discipline or moral formation. 4. The bridge, the trellis as spiritual mentorship. The addition of the final paragraph is crucial in a religious context because it moves the text away from pure anarchy and toward a model of spiritual mentorship. The cooperative agent as mentor, by introducing the trellis, scaffolding, and the power of example, the text bridges the gap toward traditions that value structure. Even in hierarchical traditions, the highest form of leadership is often seen as servanthood or stewardship. The parent acts not as a dictator, but as a steward of a divine gift, providing a structure for the soul to grow without crushing it. This resonates with the idea of a spiritual director, or guru in many traditions, someone who guides by example and offers supports rather than imposing rigid dogma. Conclusion. Globally, this text is a philosophical call for a return to a mystical egalitarianism. It challenges the structures of established, socially accepted religion, the beta world religions, by appealing to a direct, experiential connection with the divine life force present in all beings. It finds its strongest allies in traditions that prioritize natural unfolding and inner essence, Taoism, Romanticism, and acts as a sharp critique of any cultural or religious system based on rigid hierarchy, external control, or the assumption of inherent human badness.
I am still amazed to hear you analyzing the notes left by my friend Billy. The diversity of angles and perspectives that can be offered on these themes is impressive. The analyses presented just now provide an excellent insight into how the theme of family has been distinctly perceived in our world throughout human history, and how these impressions align with or diverge from the living world reported by old Billy. Thank you for the excellent work. Affection is life that goes on.